morning, everybody. It's Chris B. from CSB Security Inc. with yet another informative video. Today we're going to talk about facility layout and design. Before we go forward, I just want to let everybody know a little bit of a disclaimer. What I'm about to tell you is based on 5 years experience in this industry. It's based on dealing with a lot of architects, a lot of system designs. It's dealing with Health Canada, over 300 applications. It's reviewing a lot of system designs, a lot of floor plans over my past 5 years, but it is my opinion, and of course your experiences and opinions may vary. So let's dive right in. Today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about facility layout and design for cannabis growing in Canada. Often, our clients send me floor plan designs after they've been through architects, after they've been through master growers, and it's a chance for me to review the design for any compliance issues, as in maybe GPP issues. Maybe there's some areas that are not conducive for a good security system. Maybe there's some areas that fall afoul of the ACMPR, some rooms that are missing, all that kind of stuff. And usually I take the last look to say, hey, I wonder how these designs are looking. I wonder what's missing, what's there, what's good, what's bad. And I give feedback to the clients on how to make their floor plans and facility layout better and more compliant with the ACMPR and, of course, the Cannabis Act moving forward. However, over the past 5 years, there's been a lot of common pitfalls that I've seen with facility layouts and designs. No fault of any architect, it's no fault of any master grower. It's just because we all have our own optics into how these facilities should be designed, where the rooms should be, how the flow should happen, how we secure them, how we're compliant with the ACMPR and Cannabis Act, and how we move forward in proper production practices. So I'm going to give you a little insight as to some of the pitfalls that I've noticed over the past 5 years to give you more information and to help you decide how you're going to lay out your facility. So I would say I'm going to rate them by the top 3. The first one that I see all the time, and I always provide comments back, anybody that's a consultant in the industry that deals with GPP, GMP, anybody that deals with any kind of QA, including some of the biggest consultants out there, i.e. Eurofins. There's a lady by the name of Alfie. She's really good. She will easily be able to help you be more GPP compliant and QA compliant in your facility. However, it doesn't change the fact that I often see washrooms and lunchrooms within production spaces. And what I mean by that is a client, an architect, a master grower, whomever it may be, has said, well, there's a lot of space that we have. Our employees have to walk a fair distance to get there to the lunchroom or get to the washroom. So what we're going to do is we're going to build separate lunchrooms and washrooms beside our flower room. And those doors are going to open up right into a cannabis present hallway. The challenge with this is you got to make sure that you're still GPP compliant. Health Canada may come back and say, how are you not contaminating your hallways when you've got a washroom that opens up right into it? Unless you had an airlock or unless you had a place to gown, it was very difficult to make sure you convince Health Canada that you're still GPP compliant inside your hallways when you've got washrooms and lunchrooms that open up into it. Now, I understand why you would want to have a lunchroom and a washroom right near your production floor, because let's face it, there are some sites that are greenhouses. You could be walking for 20 minutes before you even get to a lunchroom. And if your lunch break is half an hour, you kind of just spent your lunch break walking to the lunchroom. Doesn't change the fact that you still got to make sure you're GPP compliant. So I'd say the number one thing that I see with floor plan reviews and with designs of facilities is that the washrooms and the lunchrooms are too close to the production rooms and they open up into the production hallway. I would say the second thing that I find a lot that is a little difficult under the ACMPR and will continue to be slightly difficult under the new Cannabis Act is that from a production flow point of view, it makes perfect sense that you would have multiple entrances into, I'd say, a flower room. Multiple entrances maybe into a dry room, especially if you're doing high volume growing. And what some clients have done is they said, okay, well, we'll put 2 pedestrian doors leading into a cannabis present room and also an overhead door. And in theory, again, that sounded fantastic. It makes a lot of sense. You can have an overhead door to move equipment to and from. When you're harvesting, it's a little easier to get to and from that room. Doesn't change the fact that under the ACMPR, because you have to log access to and from cannabis present areas, because you have to make sure there's ARPIC supervision inside those areas, having multiple doors open up into a cannabis present room became very difficult to be compliant, i.e., you have to log to and from every single door. You had to arm and disarm the room from every single door. And you had to ensure that when there's nobody in that space, it's always armed. So you can imagine if you have multiple doors, You could have potentially have gone from maybe $5,000 to protect a room to all of a sudden 15 to 20,000 because you did multiple doors leading into a cannabis present area. Again, from a production flow point of view, it may be fantastic. From a security point of view, it's not so good. From a GPP point of view, it's going to be a little bit more expensive to make sure you're GPP compliant in that room. It doesn't change the fact that when you started growing, you're into full production, having to arm and disarm that room for multiple doors and log access to and from it for multiple doors became a real hindrance. I would say the third thing that you have to watch out for, and this one's a big one. I've often noticed that a lot of facility floor plans include what I call rooms that open up into each other. Meaning you could have a packaging room, and that packaging room opens up into a drying room, and that drying room opens up into a trim room, and that trim room opens up into your cannabis present hallways. So in other words, in order to get to the packaging room, you have to go through the trim, then the dry, to get to the packaging. Now, under the ACMPR, don't forget you have to arm and disarm each subdivision C space separately from each other. In other words, every single cannabis present room, but you also need to log access to and from every single cannabis present room. So what ended up happening was that you had to log in and out of each room. To get to the packaging room in that scenario would mean you'd have to log in and out 4 rooms. You'd have to arm and disarm 4 rooms separately from each other, disarming before you go in, and arming the room you just left when you go into the next room. In other words, rooms that opened up into each other became a really difficult thing to protect under the ACMPR for security and potentially for GPP. But now, production flow point of view, it made perfect sense. But you would find that if you went ahead with that and you installed all the security devices, the simple logging to and from and intrusion detection, arming and disarming each and every room became a real hindrance and actually almost prevented proper production inside those spaces. Now, going forward to the Cannabis Act, it still holds true. You got to make sure that you restrict access to each space. You got to make sure you arm and disarm each space separately from each other. You still don't want to put rooms within rooms, but the logging to and from the RPIC being the first in and last out, kind of go away in the Cannabis Act. Those are 3 pitfalls that I've seen a lot of. And the way you solve this issue is you engage your consultants earlier in the process. So I can honestly say, clients that have come to me and said, Chris, we're thinking about building a facility. We need you for security. We want you to have optics into our architectural plans. We want you to talk to the architect. We want you to attend meetings. Was the wise decision? Because you bring all your consultants together. Bring your GPP consultants in. Bring your electricians. Bring your general contractors. Bring your architects. Bring your security designers in. We all have something to say to make you compliant with your facility. From a security point of view, I talk about the ACMPR and Cannabis Act compliance for security and GPP specifically. There are other people that may talk about flow. Your master grower will have something to say about where you put your destruction room potentially, or where you put your drying room in relation to your trim room. There are a lot of things to consider. Do yourself a favor. Don't wait too long. Don't have a facility design that's ready to go. You've gone through months and months of negotiations back and forth. You've talked to your master grower. You've talked to your architects. You've decided things, how things are going to be based on whatever it is that you've seen in the industry. You've done your research. Then it comes across my desk and I sit there and go, guys, where's your destruction room? I don't see it here. You're not really labeling your plans. I really don't know where certain things are happening. You have 2 floors. Did you realize the elevator that you're using to go between the 2 floors can't handle a person? If it can handle a person, what if that elevator goes down? Do you have a stairwell that's GPP compliant? And by the way, that's a pretty big one. I've worked on many facilities that are multiple floors. And it's a wise idea to have an elevator, because obviously you don't want to be bringing plants up and down stairs, but what happens if that elevator goes down? Do you halt production for potentially 72 hours before somebody can come in and fix it? What about a dumb waiter? A dumb waiter is an elevator, but that's just meant for product. It's not meant for people. It's not certified to have people in it. Therefore, if you're cultivating on your 3rd floor and you're harvesting and you need to put product on that dumb waiter and send it downstairs, it's kind of technically unescorted. Under the ACMPR, the RPIC has to escort cannabis at all times. And under the ACMPR, you would have to make sure you've got escorting at all times. Under the Cannabis Act, not so much. A little easier. Doesn't change the fact that what if that dumb waiter goes down? What if that elevator that you've put in goes down? Did you make accommodations for your stairwells to be GPP and security compliant in case you needed to use them? That's an example of some pitfalls that I've seen over the years. Talk to your consultants, get them on board early. Talk to the GPP folks, talk to the architects. Go out and do your research, look at other facilities, but get your team involved The second you believe that you know that you're going to move forward with the design, bring everybody to the table. Don't wait. Electricians, IT folks, security folks, get them involved early. We all have value to add to the design of your facility. If you have any questions about how to best design a facility, some more pitfalls, the good and the bad, go ahead and send me an email. Thanks for watching. Remember to follow us, and we'll see you in the next video.